Hi, everybody. Dan DeFedericis of Saratoga Report, and I am here with an old friend at Saratoga Report, and an old friend to me personally, Dr. Erin Christopher-Sisk. She wears a couple of hats, very important. She's president of ECS Psychological Services, and she is also co-founder with her husband Jimmy of the Thoroughbred Horses of Saratoga. And if you know anything about horses in this town or anything about this town, you Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga. If you know anything about this horses in this town, you certainly know about THS because they've been getting more and more of a presence in this town each and every year. And Dr. Sisk, how are you doing on this beautiful Thursday afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Okay, good. I'm really high on where Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga is going because every year you seem to find a way to be not just bigger but better and more emphatic. You're helping people, you're helping veterans, you're helping horses, and you're doing more of that each year. That's pretty exciting.
It is really exciting. We have picked up a lot of momentum in the past year. We're calling it our year of transformation because we've gone from sort of a little bitty charity to one that's really, serving more and more people as the days go on, which is really exciting. In addition to our veterans program, we have some new children's programs that are evolving, including a anti-bullying program and one for helping kids inner city that live in inner cities experience horses, farm life, just kind of the benefits of getting out of the city for a bit.
Wow, I have an old friend who grew up in Brooklyn, and he went to the like what they called then the Fresh Air Fund, and
Yeah,
that he said that did volumes for him.
yeah.
That wow, you are really just covering a lot, hitting on all cylinders there. And before we go a little more into this, and this is interesting stuff. I'm excited to continue with you. I want to do one little side thing. Well, obviously, as a charity, you need to keep the lights on. You need to fund the programs. You need to give funds to other entities and so forth. And you guys have been doing some really exciting fundraising. Last year, it was you had a musical fundraising event with John Oates, correct, of Hall and
Yeah,
Oates.
yeah,
That's a big deal here in Saratoga. I
yeah.
grew up with them. My first 45 was Hall and Oates, the song "Rich Girl." So, and unfortunately, I was out of town that weekend, so I couldn't make it. But you've got another big event with another big name, and I'm going to flash this on the screen here. October 5th. If you can explain what you got going on there.
Yeah, so we have the Bacon brothers coming, and yes, it is Kevin Bacon and his brother. And they have they're a musical duo, and they're excellent, and primarily acoustic. So they're coming to the farm to do a very intimate concert for our fundraising event, our big fundraiser for the year. The concert is held outdoors. There's a tent, but it's really like right smack in the middle of the farm. So the horses are there. There's beautiful sunset on the farm. And I mean, who doesn't want to come in and meet Kevin Bacon?
Yes, I mean this is intimate, right? They're going to be
Yeah,
they're not 200 feet back, right? They're up close and personal.
they are right there. And I think our our maximum tickets is, I believe, 300. So, there's not going to be a ton of people. It was really the similar setup last year with John Oates, and it was so nice. It was very personal and yeah, right up close and personal. It was great.
And I have the website listed here, and I think you go to the events page off your website, thsaratoga.org, and they can order tickets, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's really exciting, folks. October 5th, right here in Saratoga, the Bacon Brothers. That's a big deal, and for a wonderful cause. Let's get on that. Let's talk about that cause a little more. And before I go in detail, I want to have a general question for you. Is it sounds so awesome that some retired racehorses and especially in your case, that racehorses that really can't be ridden and can't get a traditional second career like show or other things, come to your farm and you use them for equine therapy. And I always thought that was so wonderful. And when I finally visited your farm and saw it close up, I realized up until that point, I didn't know what equine therapy really was. It just sounded so wonderful that I accepted it. Now I understand it, but I realized not everybody would get a hands that didn't get the hands-on view that I did. Could you explain to people some examples or an overview of just what equine
Sure.
therapy is or could be?
Yeah, absolutely. So equine therapy is a sort of a broad term, and it can mean a variety of different things. The field itself is evolving, so we're trying to get a little more specific with our language so people have a better understanding of which version of equine therapy somebody is receiving. There are some physical therapy versions of equine therapy that are good for strengthening muscles and so forth for folks who have maybe had a disabling condition of some sort. That's not
I
what
did not
we.
know that. This is new to me right there.
And that usually involves riding. It's, strengthening core muscles and so forth. And of course, just being around a horse, if you've ever been around one, is a pretty relaxing experience in general. The version of equine therapy that we offer is equine assisted psychotherapy. And so it's geared towards addressing mental health concerns. And as you mentioned, our horses are not rideable on the whole. They have some sort of permanently disabling condition. And so our equine assisted psychotherapy is interacting with the horses. Your boots are on the ground, their hooves are on the ground. There's no riding involved. But you, as a patient, would go into a paddock with 2 or 3 horses, get to know them, and also participate in some sort of challenging activity with those horses. And the activity is chosen specifically to help an individual with whatever goals they have in terms of evolving their mental health. So it might be one that helps an individual reduce anxiety. It might be an activity that teaches them how to cope better with their symptoms of depression. And the horses are free to behave in whatever way they need to. And there's a therapist there with you and what we call an equine specialist. That's the horse handler, the person that's there to make sure everything kind of stays safe. And so that's what it sort of looks like. And it's actually very effective and fun, typically speaking. So
I went to your open house many years ago, and you had a demonstration there where there were like 3 teenage girls, and they were together, and only one of them could speak, but they had to get a halter on the horse.
Yeah.
And they struggled through it. And I guess, as I understood it, as you explained at the time, it was to teach them to get through frustration or how to deal with frustration.
Yes.
And that was the neatest thing for me to experience, to watch it. Then I got it. I understood it.
Yes.
And I want to go back to something. It's so important because you and I have both placed retired racehorses. And the first thing the person on the phone wants to know when you try to place retired racehorses is it healthy? Does it have injuries? And then once you say yes, it becomes nearly impossible, not impossible, but very hard to place the horse. It removes 90% of your options, if not 95. Yet Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga takes those horses and gives them a good life and a second career, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, our specialty is those horses. It's the type of therapy that they help us conduct. Doesn't require them to do anything but walk around and interact with people. They do receive some special training so that they can do that safely. But beyond that, it's fine with us. We are a long-term home for those horses that are most difficult to place.
And you've got a few different animals out there as well. I understand even your cats have a function or a role in all this?
I never really thought there was such a thing as a therapy cat until one found its way to us and started just sort of naturally doing its job. But yes, we have therapy cats, there's therapy dogs on the premise. And we also have a couple miniature horses that were in a bad situation. And so we took them in. They're not retired race horses, but they are excellent ambassadors for the program, and a less intimidating way to kind of get started with equine assisted psychotherapy.
Okay, and I didn't mention, some people may think they don't know where you are, but they do. You're just out Route 29, Outer Lake Avenue, past Gilbert Road. As you're heading towards Schuylerville, you're on the left. You see the horses there, folks. How many horses do you currently have? About
28.
28. Okay.
Yeah.
And you, another thing is, it seems like, and I'm not as involved with the standard breds, but you don't limit your acceptance to thoroughbreds, correct? You
Correct. We take both standardbreds and thoroughbred horses. And I feel like that's important. Where the thoroughbred industry gets a lot more publicity than the standardbred industry does, but we're a horse racing town and we have both types of tracks. And so those horses over at the harness track are needing homes when they are retiring just as much as the thoroughbreds do.
That's another great thing, and I'm not saying others don't accept them, because I just don't know, but it just warms my heart to know that you accept both of them, both standardbreds and thoroughbreds. Obviously, I'm more into the thoroughbred world, but I do part of my heart is with the standardbreds. I do like the fact that we have the two different types of racing in town, and like you said, that is kind of the essence of Saratoga. Um, is there anything else that you'd like to tell people about that may be have an intrigue? How about volunteers? Are you accepting
Yeah.
volunteers?
Yes, we're always accepting volunteers. You can go right to our website to get started, and that there's a spot where you can do a volunteer inquiry.
Okay.
And then from there, we kind of, sort out like, all right, what would you like to do? What's your interests? And that can be anything from helping to care for the horses to, helping to talk with the public about our services when we go to various different events. We have often, we are going out into the community to support other charity organizations. We'll be at the Saratoga State Park towards the end of September for the Out of Darkness walk to help prevent suicide and to increase suicide awareness. And there's also a Veterans Day at the University of Albany happening later this month, and we'll be there too. And when we go to those events, we need folks who know about our organization and can talk with others and help answer questions. So our volunteers help out with those types of tasks, as well as helping us feed the horses on a day-to-day basis. So there's a lot of options.
There's a lot of work there, and I should mention, the flip side of that is your psychological services, ECS psychological services. That is not our focus today, but people would say, well, okay, I understand it, but what if I wanted to reach out from that perspective?
Yeah.
ECS psychological services, and there's the number on the screen. And one last thing I wanted to bring up was. Now, perhaps I'm wrong here again, because I'm looking from the outside, but it seems like 10 years ago, all the horse aftercare organizations, they seem to be somewhat siloed. They didn't interact as much as they do. There's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of joint efforts and collaborations. Is that true? Did I see a shift over the years?
Yeah, I think you're correct. Therapeutic Horses has only been in existence since 2018. So prior to that, I can't really speak to it. But every year I see more and more organizations reaching out to each other, interested in sharing information and helping each other. And that's certainly something that we value a lot at Therapeutic Horses. Also, on the thoroughbred side of things, the establishment of the thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. That is a organization that helps all of the aftercare industries, if you're accredited with them, with a variety of different things. And they also help us kind of meet one another, stay connected. They have, meetings where people can get on and chat about concerns or issues that they're having, or just help each other place a horse. So that has been a really nice shift to see. And I can tell you one circumstance where I really experienced this coming to fruition. There was a farm where I believe the owner had died, and so I'm not sure how it all exactly unfolded, but there was a lot of horses that needed to be placed, and they were the family or whomever had taken charge had brought in someone to auction them off. And so the concern with those types of situations is that if all the horses aren't auctioned off to owners that are responsible, the ones that are left then sometimes get swooped up by what they call kill buyers, people who are then going to sell those horses for meat. And so with the awareness of this, the organizations within the TAA, all of those aftercare organizations started messaging one another. Okay, who can help with this? Who can take this horse? Who can do that? And it really was a wonderful example of all of those organizations working together, and every horse found a place. And it was successful at the end of the day. Nobody landed in a bad situation because of those organizations working together.
Wow, that is a strong story, and one that tugs at your heart, because you touched on something. There are some uh, terrible aspects to horses that are retired, and like you said, they can be purchased, and people say, well, isn't it illegal in America? Yeah, it is, but there's nothing stopping them from taking them to Canada or things like
Right.
that. And you and the like organizations are stopping that. The fact that there's that, rather than competition and territorialism, seems like to me
Yeah.
there's a lot of cooperation going on for the good of the horses, and in many cases for the good of people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a pleasure to see.
Uh, sure. Well, I'm going to end where we started here, and to remind people to go to the Thoroughbred Horses of Saratoga, thsaratoga.org. On your screen, click the events button, and you can click on and purchase tickets at varying levels. Even probably your cheapest ticket is still a pretty intimate position, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's there's no bad seats.
Right,
For
right,
sure.
exactly. And plus,
Yeah.
in that farm and barn setting, how different, how fun.
Yeah. It makes for a really nice special evening.
Well, Dr. Christopher-Sisk, thank you for joining us today. I really enjoy this. I learned more than I thought I would. I thought I understood 95% of what you were doing, and I did, but I know a significant amount more after this interview. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, good luck on October 5th. I hope to be there.
Thank you.
Bye bye.